So this manas, we have discussed in last lesson the 5 aspects of the manas in this tradition, and it is very important, very different from Xuanzang's tradition, from the classical Yogacara or Vaishya or Chittamatrata. Here, the 3 aspects of the alaya which we have learned, the karmic aspect, the aspect of the seer and aspect of the seen, they are put together with the differentiating wisdom and the continuity aspect, and they make together the manas, which is the organ of thinking. Manyate iti manas, that but by what we think is a manas. But actually we are not aware that what we think is also in fact created by the movement which is set our consciousness is set into movement by this manas, by this organ of thinking, or in Chinese, yi. This yi, this organ of thinking, is what actually makes consciousness move. But the nature of consciousness is not movement. It is the movement of consciousness is the nature of ignorance. And that even the enlightened persons do not see. According to this tradition, even Vasubandhu, who comments the scriptures of the Yogacara tradition, even he says that only the Buddha understands thoroughly the mere consciousness. Even when we become arahats, when we become enlightened bodhisattvas, we do not see it. So we identify with the continuity of consciousness, which is the organ of thinking. So in the Theravada tradition in which I have been trained, we never really analyze in detail the mind of the Buddha, but the Chittamatrata, the tradition of mind, only does it. The Buddha does not need attention to think. We need attention to think. The Buddha does not need investigation to think. We need investigation to think. But all this is not what the Buddha experiences. And we think we understand, but we actually don't, because already when we think we understand, we are, so to say, relating to our continuity consciousness. We understand what we have put together. And that is why, in a way, all Buddhist traditions, they only teach the skillful means. The reality we cannot teach. Neither Theravada can, nor Mahayana can, nor Vajrayana can. Nobody can teach reality. But we can teach the most suitable concepts to realize reality. And in the Mahayana tradition, Chinese, Tibetan as well, the most suitable concept to realize reality is this Buddha nature, or the aspect of suchness, which is our true mind. And this aspect of suchness is real because it does not change. What is real does not change. When we study Abhidharma, that which does not change is the own characteristic of things, like the own characteristic of sensation is receiving the object. So they believe this own characteristic is the truth. So we have many, many truths because many things have own characteristic. Earth is hardness and so on. But the truth actually can only be one. And we are parts of this one truth, but we are not aware of it. Because when we think, we already think in terms of the continuity of our mind. And we have to become realized bodhisattvas, that is, a bhumi bodhisattvas, in order to actually know it. So, according to this tradition, even the arahat, he still relies on right differentiation, but differentiation is precisely that which prevents us to see the suchness. And this mind free of differentiation we all have, and it is called the Buddha nature. This Buddha nature is the essence of us and also essence of all the phenomena we experience. So it is a kind of a mystery which is unspeakable, unthinkable, unknowable by differentiation. So in a last lesson, we have analyzed the causes of continuity, these 5 kinds of mind, which explain that our organ of thinking, which is the base for our thinking, is different from your organ of thinking. That's why our continuity is different, because our organ of thinking works differently, because we have collected different past experiences based on differentiation. So that part we have covered, and now we can continue unless there are some questions concerning what we have learned last time. If not, so let us continue so that we get a little further with our text. What is very important before I start to teach, that this manas, this organ of thinking, or which is responsible for our continuity as a person, this organ of thinking is the base for our differentiating consciousness. That means the 6 kinds of consciousnesses, which are in other traditions of Buddhism the only consciousnesses. We have the mental consciousness and the 5 consciousnesses dependent on the mental consciousness. According to Abhidharma, this mind consciousness is like a surface of the drum, And on the surface of the drum, we have the 5 stones, black stones. Whenever the surface of the drum moves, when the oh, sorry, this has been interrupted. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. When
Ich habe auch mit einer Frau gesprochen, die war in Tibet. Ja, Lhasa.
So when this mental organ is working, then it causes the mental consciousness, the 6 consciousness, to think that these 5 objects we experience in the outside world are separated, and they become the objects of grasping and the objects of our conceptual thinking. So these 6 consciousnesses, they are rooted in the mind consciousness, and the 5 consciousnesses, they are rooted in the mind consciousness, in the mental consciousness. But mental consciousness is already, we will learn today, it's already based on the continuity of the mind, which is the actually the manas, the organ of thinking. So this is very important to understand. So it is base, the manas is base for the 6 consciousnesses, and it is also base for our vikalpa, the 20. Now, in order to understand what comes, it will be very useful to discuss what the Xuanzang explains in detail. There are 8 kinds of vikalpas, of differentiations. The 3 first differentiations that only bodhisattva can, so to say, remove. So Shravaka, they are not important, and he does not want to, he has no interest to remove them. Because the Shravaka realization is based on correct differentiation. This is nirvana, this is samsara, this is earth, just earth, this is water, just water, this is sensation, just sensation, this is perception, just perception. And all this is empty. And this emptiness of these phenomena is something that is there. And this is the right differentiation. Now, these first 3 vikalpas, which the Shravaka does not need, the disciple does not need to remove, they are the vikalpa differentiation of true nature in things. Then the differentiation of something which is put together as being real, because these aggregates, they are put together, so they cannot be real. So what we are grasping at is nothing real, and cannot be real, and cannot become real, and cannot be analyzed as real. It is only skillful means for understanding that everything we actually differentiate is are just concepts of mind. They are useful concepts and not useful concepts. This is a very useful concept, but it can only understand thoroughly the selflessness of the self and what belongs to the self. But according to Mahayana, it cannot understand the selflessness of all the phenomena, including nirvana. So all that is put together is just illusionary differentiation in Mahayana, and also the uh, the all the phenomena are, so to say, are constructed by the mind. If we don't believe it, it is also vikalpa, because only things that we can base our differentiation on is the mind itself, which has the real nature of the mind is the suchness. Then the common vikalpas, which the all students of Buddhism have to remove. This is a vikalpa of the self, vikalpa of the that which belongs to the self, and vikalpa of the pleasant sensation being real, unpleasant sensation being real, and the neither pleasant nor unpleasant sensation being real. This is what all students of Buddhism have to remove, so that they remove clinging to the aggregates, because clinging to the aggregates is clinging to the sensations. Sensations, clinging to sensations causes the thirst, and thirst causes appropriation, and this is how we continue in the suffering of impermanence. So this is very important to understand, because what is this?
Sir, you are disappearing.
Sorry. So here we are. We are products of our vikalpa, of our fempie, and this our fempie is, according to this Zen teaching, or according to the Mahayana teaching in depth, it is a product of our ignorance. When we have left ignorance, and that can do thoroughly only the Buddha himself, then we don't need any differentiation. We just see things as in the mirror. We can see the alaya as in the mirror. We can see the objects in the alaya as in the mirror. So neither the alaya is real, nor the objects which appear in the alaya are real. But we take them to be real, because we rely on our organ of thinking. And the last lesson we have learned that this organ of thinking happens because the mind moves. When the mind moves, there is the mover, and there is what is seen by the mover. And the mover is the perceiver, and what is seen by the perceiver is the perceived. So these are the three aspects of mind. Whenever mind appears, they appear and differentiate something. It appears in the terms of these three aspects. The karmic aspect, which is called Ye Xiang, the karma nimitta. Then we have the darshana nimitta, the Tian Fan or Tian Xiang. Tian Xiang, the Ye Xiang is based on Ye Shi, on karma consciousness. The Tian Xiang is based on Zhuan Shi, the evolving consciousness. And evolving consciousness cannot appear separate from the consciousness which perceives the object, which is called Kyati or Xian, the revealing objects consciousness. So these three appear. Then the organ of thinking, which appears together with them, then differentiates. This is suitable, this is not suitable. When it differentiates what is suitable, what is not suitable, then there is continuity. And that we have explained. When there is continuity, even if we don't like it, we rely on vikalpas, on fenpie, and this vikalpas, this fenpie, is the base for our mental consciousness. And according to our mental consciousness, we then refer to the objects as something we want, something we don't want, something we like, something we don't like, something which has a relation to us, which affects us, and something which does not affect us. This is all job of the mental consciousness based on the manas, organ of thinking. And then based on the mental consciousness, we then refer to the objects. Objects seen, objects heard, objects smelled, object tasted, object touched. So here we are in the middle of awareness, but this our awareness is very limited. And the development of meditation is, as explained in this treatise, is the development of awareness. What we actually know in the world and how we relate to the world and relate to ourselves is the revelation of our awareness. And our awareness is different when we get experience in learning the discipline, the dharma, the meditation, the wisdom. Our awareness changes. And when our awareness changes, we refer to ourselves and to what we experience in a different way. The more we develop our awareness, the more subtle becomes our dharma. And we know in Buddhism, dharma has a lot of meanings. It means nirvana, but also it means all that we actually experience. All is Dharma. And it means also the teaching. And it means also the morality. It means also meditation. It means also the wisdom, the insight. All this is Dharma. So Dharma, by fancy etymology, we can explain like that which holds us and that which measures us. Dharayate iti dharma. So that what holds, and ma is a root for measuring. So this is not bad. We can understand like this. Dharma is what measures us, even though we are not aware of it, and which holds us. Holds us in the sense that according to that we then understand ourselves and understand the world. So now we have tried to summarize what we have learned the last lesson. Now let us go, unless there are some urgent questions, to let us continue with the text. Are there any urgent questions to be asked? Yes, Agus.
Well, sir, when you mentioned in the early of this talk, I just want to relate with the uh, translation version of from the Japanese Hakeda. The translator, I would like to read it. The translator just remind us. Actually, you also mentioned in the early this talk. The author said that the author of this text used the same term with the Yogacara philosophy, but actually we should interpret in the light of different, because the meaning of the term different with the Yogacara. Yeah.
Yes, it is very different because in a classical Yogacara, the alaya and is these three aspects we have explained, and there is no such thing in the Xuanzang. You cannot find in Yogacara Bhumi Shastra. You cannot find this differentiating wisdom consciousness and the continuity consciousness as forming together with the three aspects of the alaya, forming the organ of thinking. This is very original. And from this organ of thinking then appears the mental consciousness, which then is the base for the five consciousnesses. So there is no five consciousnesses without the mental consciousness, and there is no mental consciousness in this tradition without the manas. But here manas includes also the alaya. Alaya is not separated from the manas here. This is the special feature of this text, which you don't find anywhere else, but it has made a great impact on Zen tradition, especially. As soon as you start thinking, you are, so to say, already in the karmic related aspect of the mind, which moves the mind, and so you are in illusionary mind. You don't see the essence of the mind. And the essence of the mind is something which always remain the same. And this is what is to be understood. And this is what is to be studied theoretically, and this is also what is to be experienced in daily practice. Whenever our mind starts moving, it is already pervaded by ignorance. And it is alaya, is the cause of the moving, but that which brings an organ of thinking, which is a condition for moving, these are the objects. This is logical. So dependent origination is the theory of causes and conditions. So the cause of the mind moving is alaya, because alaya, original meaning of the alaya is a mind which dwells in the world. But essence of the alaya is the Buddha nature. The mind which moves, it's not the essence of alaya. Essence of alaya is the Buddha nature. But we don't see the Buddha nature, we see already the mind which is moving. And when it is moving, there is already the perceiver and the perceived. And when there is perceiver and the perceived, there is already this differentiating wisdom and continuity. So this is a very precious insight, especially for Zen practitioners. So when we cling to this moving mind, we are already in the deeper stages of grasping. This manas grasping is very subtle. But we can still be aware that it is there. Especially when we practice the Bodhisattva path, we practice the 10 aspects of practice already include everything the Theravada practitioner learns, almost everything, like right mindfulness, the right effort, the faith, the wisdom, the concentration, all is there. And also the Shrutamaya Pradya, the knowledge from hearing, the knowledge from contemplation, all is already there in faith, in practice of faith. But the explanation is different because the faith of Bodhisattva is based on bodhicitta. We start learning the Mahayana by giving rise to bodhicitta. And bodhicitta means that as the possibly the first text of Mahayana historically, the Lotus Sutra, so important, teaches that this teaching of correct differentiation is only skillful means for going beyond differentiation. But we need differentiation. But we should learn the differentiation only as a skillful means, not as something which is really there. That is, in the Mahayana, there is partly also kind of a view, but it is only explanation, because when we understand Mahayana, it is not a problem, because all the Buddha teaches is only skillful means. So it is not really depreciation of the arahats or of the Shravakas. It just means that we cannot go into the realization of our Buddha nature being the true nature of the mind when we rely on correct differentiation. We have to go beyond correct differentiation. And we have to be aware of it from the very beginning. That's why we have to study hard and we have to practice hard to get rid of this idea of swabhava, of zushin, of own nature of the phenomena, and of really common nature of the phenomena, impermanence, and so on. If common nature of phenomena is impermanence, then nirvana is also a phenomena, then, but nirvana is not an impermanence. And that nirvana mind is the true mind. Ah, yeah, I have lost. So we have to rely again on the torch. This is Nepal. This is not Jakarta. In Jakarta, you don't have or in Java, you don't have power cuts, no? Or you have also? Oh, again, the light appears to some extent, only partially. So can you hear me? Can you confirm you are with me?
Yes, Pastor.
Hello?
Yes,
Yes,
Pastor.
Pastor.
Okay. So this is very important aspect. Whenever our mind moves and we have to develop this awareness, we are already involved in ignorance and we don't let this ignorance develop. When we let it develop, it means we identify with the organ of thinking. When we identify with the organ of thinking, already clinging is there. And already the Okay, now you can see me maybe. Can you hear me also?
Yes, Pastor.
Yes, Pastor.
Yeah, I can see you. Can you see me and hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Pastor.
You seem to be having also power cuts in Indonesia, or I can not hear you well. What is the reason? Can you hear me at least?
Yes,
Can I
yes,
continue?
Pastor. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
Pastor.
Pastor.
Can,
Yes, Pastor. In Indonesia, it depends on what region you are. If you're in a very remote region, then you have a severe power cut. But in Jakarta, I don't think so.
Now, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Pastor. But, yeah, okay.
Yes, sorry, with this above our possibility to control. So if you can hear me, let us continue. Huh? Otherwise, we will get into endless. So we have explained this text is very unique. It is very different from what we learn in the Yogacara Bhumi Shastra and in Cheng Wei Shalun. And these are the two most important texts for understanding the Yogacara tradition. And in this text, to understand Yogacara tradition, we have to understand three levels of reality. The three levels of reality are not explained here. And everything starts with ignorance. And when the mind moves, it's already ignorance. And when it moves, it creates the organ of thinking, which we don't see. We have to be realized bodhisattvas to see it. To be realized bodhisattva is much more difficult than to be a realized disciple. And so we don't see actually that this moving mind is
Kayaknya fase disconnect lagi ya, Tan?
Iya. Piana mungkin nganu apa view-nya juga speaker view ya seharusnya ya.
Iya, cuma fasenya
okay.
hilang-hilang jadinya
Can you hear me
muncul.
now?
Yes, Fase.
Fasenya left lagi.
What's going on? This is Nepal. What to do? We are.
Okay.
I have no supernatural powers to prevent these disturbances, so we have to put on with them. Maybe there is someone in the Nepal Himalayas who can do it, but there are some great yogis in this country. But anyway, it is beyond our. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Fase.
So let us continue. The light is very poor. I have to use. Let us continue with the text.
Okay, Fase.
So the conclusion here is, therefore, the three spheres of existence, we should know as students of Buddhism what it means. The sphere dominated by the five senses, by subtle forms and formless sphere of existence, it's the perception of them is merely illusion, Maya. And they are Wei Xin Suo Zuo. They are only creations of the mind. So they are these vikalpas, these fenpie, which are completely illusionary and based on ignorance, which moves the mind, but we do not see it. So they are simply said, there are no objects separate from mind, and due to 5 aspects of manas which we have learned, the uh, uh, the kushala and akushala, the good seeds and the bad seeds of future mental processes are stored as seeds in our store consciousness, in our alaya. And as we have learned, the alaya is what dwells in the world, that is a mind which moves, that is a yesh-yang, that is a karma aspect of the mind, which is the cause, and the conditions for this mind to move are the objects. If there are no objects, the mind does not move. But because we don't see that the mind moves because of ignorance, we don't see that it moves because it sees the objects which it has constructed as real. But they are no object is real in the sense that it has own nature. So it doesn't mean less than that the whole of samsara, whole of impermanence, which we experience inside and outside, is based on alaya, and alaya is actually based on suchness. The manas is only the movement of the alaya. The organ of thinking, and the thinking as such is only the movement, but the true nature of the alaya, which never changes, in that sense, alaya is, so to say, the always the same in its essence, but changes only in its images. So these images is a movement in the alaya, which actually is our continuity, and this continuity is manas, is the organ of thinking. So they are, this organ of thinking is unreal from the point of view of suchness, but it is real from the point of view of the objects. This is very important to understand. From the point of view of essence, the only essence is suchness. It is unreal, but the from the point of view of the objects, it is real. And we think that these objects really exist in their own right, just as a mind exists in its own right. And so we are, so to say, deprived of the realization of the bodhisattva, which is that this continuity of the mind is a perfect illusion. That is very difficult. We have to be a great realized meditators like Xu and Tachelshan in order to penetrate this truth that the all is unreal from the point of view of Buddha nature, but it is real only as images in the mirror. The images of the mirror, of course, are not real, yet they cannot be separated from the mirror itself. So what is the conclusion? The text says all dharmas are produced by mind and by mind only. So all objects are born from illusionary thought. But we always have to consider that the real mind the Buddha nature, the suchness, is the base for illusion. If this suchness was not there would not be illusion. So this is what we have learned before. There is this realized aspect of the alaya, or awareness aspect of the alaya, and non-realized aspect of the alaya, the jue and ujue. And this is our situation. We are always connected with these two aspects. So when we see Pujie, we actually also see Jie. When we see Jie, we also see Pujie, because we are not suchness. So this is very important. This is how we develop our awareness, not only by knowing the Jue, knowing the enlightened aspect, the awareness aspect, but also by knowing the non-awareness aspect. And this awareness aspect and non-awareness aspect, as we will learn in the future lessons, we are their mixture, always mixing together, until we have removed ignorance, which is a long, long process. But the difference with the tantric tradition is that when we use the body as a vehicle, not just the mind, we can, so to say, speed up this process. But this is a difficult subject which we're not going to discuss now. So very important thing now is said from the Sandhi Nirmochana Sutra, also explained more in detail in the Mahayana Samgraha. The mind does not see the mind, just like a finger does not see the finger, just like eye does not see the eye. The mind does not see the mind. What we see only is this small mind, this differentiating mind, which is only like the shadow of the mind. So the small mind can only see the small objects. We need to expand our mind to be able to see that all objects form one whole. This is a very important aspect of the Huayan, of the Avatamsaka tradition, which actually starts with this connection with the whole, which is the, so to say, the base for our insight. So that means what mind actually differentiates, it's not there and has never been there. Because the mind has no object, no nimitta, no sign, or yes, we can explain a nimitta as a sign, qiang, we can explain as the object, we can explain also as arising of the mind. So the mind has no arising of the mind to attain, has no picture to attain, has no sign to attain, has no object to attain. However you want to explain, what it attains is only the memory of the object, which is based on our identification with the organ of thinking. So then it says, what does it mean? The author asks himself,以一切法界中心体妄念而生. That means all the phenomena, they arise from the mind and from illusionary thinking. And that means that all the differentiations are only the differentiations, fabrications of one's own mind. The mind does not see the mind, and therefore there is no object which can be attained, because there is no the mind which is a perceiver, and what it perceives is already coming together with the karmic mind which sets the mind in motion. But it is not the nature of the mind to have motion. This motion comes from the karmic mind which sets the mind in motion. Once the Yin Shun Changlao, the great scholar, thinks that this may have been influenced by author's reading of the Kietuo Tao Lun, of the Vimukti Marga, the path of liberation, translated into Chinese from the Theravada tradition, supposed to have been written by the Arahat Upagutta, yes, if I'm not wrong. So in Theravada, the mind is set in motion by the avarjana. Avarjana is the same term like Zhuan Shi. When the mind process starts, either the mental process or the process of the five consciousnesses, it is because it is set in motion by this Zhuan Shi, avarjana chitta, evolving mind. When there is evolving mind, then one turns to the object, that is the attention. When there is attention to the object, object is reflected in the organ, then it is received by the mental consciousness, then it is investigated by the mental consciousness, then one decides about the object, and then the jhana, the process of going through the object, and mind returns to bhavanga or to alaya, which is the resultant consciousness. So here we have a similar phenomena. We have the mind is set in motion by attention. When there is attention, there is perceiver and the perceived, and then there is differentiation, which is zhi, xiang. In Yogacara, we don't have this Xiang, we don't have this this wisdom of differentiation, and which brings the continuity, and the continuity then mind, mental consciousness, then go through this continuity. So this is Javana. So we have certainly some similarities, because this concept of differentiating mind based on perceiver and perceived is something which you don't find in classical Yogacara. So this is what Agus has mentioned, what the Professor Lusthaus also shows, and which shows the truth that Abhidharma is only in Theravada. The Abhidharma is the Paramartha, is the highest reality teaching, but not in this Mahayana tradition. Abhidharma is, therefore, we have so many different Abhidharmas, all explaining the process of thinking in a different way. So this is very important. So the conclusion is we have to realize that all the worldly gochara, all the worldly objects, they all dependent on the ignorance of us, sentient beings, which make, so to say, which make this illusion of reality based on ignorance dwell or last. And the conclusion, therefore, 是故一切法如镜中像，无敌可得，唯心虚妄。So that's why all the phenomena that we experience are but the images in the mirror which have no essence of their own, and therefore we cannot actually reach them. What we reach is our mental constructions, and it is only the mind. Which mind? The illusionary mind. So beginning of thought has no nature of its own, and this is what is to be realized. This is Zen. This is very deep Zen, and it has influenced very much the whole Zen tradition. And there is, as we know, the sudden enlightenment school and the gradual enlightenment school. This combines the sudden enlightenment school and the gradual enlightenment school. According to sudden enlightenment school, we should go to the beginning. This is what is described here. Everything is just image in the mirror, and this image in the mirror has no nature we can reach, no nature we can grasp. So, Pen Lai Wu Wu, originally there was nothing to hold, and there is this dust in which prevents us see reality is not really there. So we go right to the beginning. It does not mean we are at the beginning. We are not at the beginning. We are still in the continuity of the mind, but contemplating the beginning is the practice to get faster to the beginning. So this is the difference between the gradual and the sudden. The gradual, or what is called in Tian Tai Pie Jiao, is actually can be reconciled with Yuan Tiao or with a complete understanding, with the sudden enlightenment understanding, because our mind moves moment by moment, and each moment it cannot leave its true nature. Yet, it leaves its true nature when we identify. That's why it's so important to understand manas, when we identify with the organ of thinking. And we do that. But we should do it with awareness. That is it. So now this is the genuinity of this scripture. After analyzing the continuity of then the author analyzes the 6 consciousnesses which are based on this continuity, which is organ of thinking. So, in other words, the consciousness, which here means again the originality of the author, E means manas, and ether, which normally translates mental consciousness, here refers to 6 consciousnesses. They are taken as one group, because when the mental consciousness moves, in the 5 consciousnesses move also. When the mental consciousness does not move, the 5 consciousnesses also don't move. This is also explained in Theravada Abhidharma very well. These 5 stones on the surface of the drum, when one stone jumps, the other 4 stones also jump. But the mind, mental consciousness turns to the stone which jumped the highest. But the 5 consciousnesses, when the I consciousness becomes active, we also activate the ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, and body consciousness automatically together. We cannot separate them. But our mental consciousness goes to that stone which jumps the highest. If we pay attention to the color, it goes to the color consciousness. If we pay attention to the sound, it goes to the sound consciousness, and start differentiating. This is a sound I like, this is a sound I don't like, this is, I want to protect myself from this sound, I like to hear that sound. If it goes to the color, I want this color, I don't want that color. And this is automatic reaction, which is based in mental consciousness. And this mental consciousness is rooted and cannot function without the organ of thinking. An organ of thinking already includes alaya, because alaya is that consciousness which dwells in the world, but it has not the nature of dwelling in the world. It has a nature of Buddha. It has a nature of nirvana, but that we do not see. So whenever mental consciousness appears, and it appears together with the 5 consciousnesses, it is but the continuity of the mind. Here, mind means of the mental consciousnesses, 5 consciousnesses together. Again, the special terminology of the author, which he does not share with Xianzang tradition and with Yogacara Bhumishastra. which is a base for this tradition. So the common man, like we are, gets involved in these 6 consciousnesses based on mental consciousness, because they appear together, and takes the self and what belongs to self as a real. So when we activate already the mental consciousness, so we activate when we pay attention to the color. So we take this color as something real, and we identify with evaluation of that color. I like this color. The color in Buddhism involves also shape, because what the mental consciousness, this is discussion in Buddhism, what the mental consciousness sees is actually the color which determines the shape. So the shape is based on color. So because we take these objects which the mental consciousness perceives as real, we are involved, whether we like it or not, with the manas, which is organ of thinking, which is individual thinking. We have the tendency of seeing things in terms of I perceive, and what I perceive is relevant, is real, and thus it constructs the reality. But this reality is actually the construction based on the concepts, based on names and syllables, through which we continue, through which the content of reality is, so to say, uh, it is a medium of our relation to reality. It is this concept which we create about the reality. And they are contained in as a seeds in our consciousness. So as soon as when we are ordinary beings, when we have not yet any realization, as soon as the real object appears, so there appears a tendency to clinging, and there appears a tendency to clinging not to reality, but to the concepts of reality. So we are connected with the 5 aggregates of grasping. And 5 aggregates of grasping grasp the objects of the 6 senses as something real. And this mental consciousness, this 5 consciousnesses which differentiates the objects, they are called also the Fenpie, that means Vastu Vijnana, that means they are the base for our views and our holding to the views and to the object. So they give rise to 2 aspects of the mind connected with the 6 consciousnesses. The first is aspect of grasping, and the second is aspect of fabricating concepts based on the names and syllables, which we take as related to the self and to the what the self, what the organ of thinking perceives. So the common man does not see that this differentiating consciousness is already permeated by our ignorance and inseparable from our ignorance. So the Aryas, the noble ones, can see it. So what happens when we realize the enlightenment, object of enlightenment of Shravakas, or if we understand it on the Bodhisattva way, we have not yet directly realized, but we understand it by faith. What happens? Then these objects cease to be real. So we have, so to say, we have reduced our grasping. So Prithagjana in Pali means putu jana. Putu means white. So as long as we have not realized the object of liberation, either as disciples by correct differentiation of getting disenchanted with impermanence and turning to that which is not impermanent, as opposed to that which is permanent. Or if, like bodhisattvas, we have realized our faith and we are firmly convinced that the suchness is true and what we think is not true. So both, they can get rid of this most superficial aspect of the six consciousnesses of the based on mental consciousness, which is, we have explained the aspect of the grasping and the aspect of fabrication of concepts. So when we attain the first bhumi of the bodhisattva, we can understand thoroughly that all differentiations is a complete illusion. But here at this stage, when we have realized our faith, or when we have realized the object of liberation based on correct differentiation, we have realized that this grasping, even though it is there, and that the concepts to which we grasp, they are not real. So what a release. So it is a really wonderful state, this reality we grasp, but the reality of our grasping appears like a dream. This is a state of Arya and of the Bodhisattva who has realized this faith. So who does not take the differentiating mind, the organ of thinking, as something real, but he takes the suchness as being the real content of his experience. So these six consciousnesses, it is very important. I have not talked about it so far. We have said that mano-vijnana, sense objects, and it does not, so to say, appear isolated from them. It appears in mutual conditioning with them. And the six consciousnesses, they are also called discriminating consciousness, maybe vivechana in Sanskrit, because they discriminate between the objects. So, and then cling to this discrimination based on the five outer objects. Because these five outer objects, they already perceive the five sense objects as being something really there. So we are already, when we use the mental consciousness, we are already subjected to the deeper layer of ignorance. At the stage of manas, this layer of ignorance is very subtle. But when we use the consciousness as the six consciousnesses as the instrument, real instrument of discrimination, we are getting deeper involved in the ignorance. And then we differentiate this basis, vastu, as being something real, and what these bases see as also being something real. So we engage in views and in desires, and take these views and desires as something real, as long as we have not realized our faith, or as long as we have not realized the direct seeing of nirvana when we practice vipassana well. So the continuity of manas gives rise to this mental consciousness, which when it appears, it has these two aspects, the aspect of grasping and aspect of fabricating names and concepts. And so if we want to return to purity, we have to see that these two aspects of grasping and fabricating names and fabricating reality on the concept based on names and syllables, they are the creation of permeation of our mind by ignorance. So in order to understand the ignorance, we can take the sudden enlightenment approach, we can take the gradual enlightenment approach. Both support the other. They are not actually in any opposition at all. So this mind this mind, which is the six consciousnesses, we penetrate its illusionary nature truly only when we attain the stage of bodhisattva. Then we can break completely the power of this mind. As the Mahayana scriptures explain, only the bodhisattva knows that even though the mind is polluted, this true mind never changes. This is what the Sri Mala Sutra says and so on. But this the disciple cannot see. He cannot see that this mind is originally pure in its own nature. And yet, even so it remains pure in its own nature, it still has ignorance. But this ignorance is not true. So defiled mind is only defiled by ignorance, by avidya, which literally means nescience, no science, which originally was not there, but it becomes defiled whenever we identify with our thinking, with our organ of thinking. So although the mind is changing, in reality it never changed. That means the defilement is never true, and this is what is to be realized. But we cannot realize unless we have succeeded in our faith, or when we have directly realized the object of liberation based on correct differentiation, based on inner insight. So this meaning that mind remains pure even when it is permeated by ignorance, only the Buddha knows the true meaning. He knows that the mind, the nature is always free of thought, of nian. It is very important in Chinese. Nian means thinking, but it also means memory. They are closely connected. Thinking is based on perception, and perception is based on memory. Very important to understand. Or memory is based on perception. This is how we continue in samsara, because based on perception, we cling to our feelings, to our sensations, and because we cling to our sensation, we cling to our differentiating mind, discriminating mind, and we do not see that actually the mind is immovable. It cannot move. So, and we cannot see it as long as the mind does not attain a single dharma dhatu. That means it is as soon as it is not connected with its true nature, with dharmakaya, our thoughts appear spontaneously, and we spontaneously identify with them. We have to be enlightened, or we have to realize our faith in order to be really aware of that. So not being one with Dharmadhatu, mind is asamprayukta. It is not connected with its essence, with its true nature, which is nirvana. And so thoughts arise spontaneously due to these vasanas, due to these seeds of previous consciousnesses, previous memories. And so we are subjected to the 6 minds, started from the gross to the most subtle. When we penetrate the most subtle, we become the Buddhas. And the most gross starts with a mind which is called how to translate it best? maybe I translate it with a defiled aspect of the mind. These terms are explained later, which is connected with duality. Connected here means connected with duality. That means with thinking that the outer object is something separated from what the mind sees. And so the six consciousnesses then are connected with the most obvious aspects, the aspect we have explained, the aspect of grasping, that means of grasping and holding object, and the fabrication of names and syllables, taking them as reality. That is this parikalpita, PNT reality, the fabricated reality. And this tendency to identify with the fabricated realities, as we have explained, is abandoned by realized Shravakas, partly abandoned by the first, more by second, by third stage of the Shravaka disciple path, and completely abandoned by the Arahat. And also gradually the bodhisattvas get detached from it when they realize the faith and when they continue practices of the bodhisattva. That means after 10 practices of the faith, he practices the 10 practices of dwelling in the face, dwelling in bodhicitta, then the bodhicitta charya, the conduct according to the bodhicitta, and the 10 practices connected with the transference of all the merit for the sake of all beings, forgetting oneself. Then we can realize the first bhumi of the bodhisattva, and eventually start abandoning this aspect of defiled mind with continuity, which is the manas. So this manas is still connected with dualism, but it is a subtle aspect of dualism. We will speak about it more in our next lectures. Let us finish here with the most gross aspect on the way back to realization of the true mind. Before, it has been explained, if you remember the previous part, we have explained the process of realization from the end to the beginning. Here again, from, so to say, from the gross to the subtle, but the gross here is already the gross aspect of continuity, not the subtle aspect of continuity. And I will make you remember, please try to read again. Before, we have learned the 4 stages of enlightenment. First is enlightenment, which is not really enlightenment. That is the common man knowing that the harmful thoughts are harmful and therefore stopping them, not allowing them to continue. This makes him the noble common man. The non-noble common man does not do it. He completely identifies with the harmful thoughts, with the unwholesome thoughts. The one who is a noble common man, he tries to stop them and makes effort to go further. When he goes further, then he can realize the what was called Xiangse Jue. Xiangse means seeming enlightenment. In this tradition, the enlightenment based on correct differentiation, nirvana and samsara, is the seeming enlightenment, like the fourth jhana is the Bodhisattva Bhumi describes as seeming nirvana. Here, this in this tradition, realization of the Arya disciple is a seeming realization because it is based on differentiation. As long as one does not penetrate in this tradition, that the differentiation, whatever differentiation there may be, is not true, then one cannot attain the unsurpassed Buddha's realization, the greatest Arahat realization. But even the Shravaka, you have the small Shravaka, you have the middle Shravaka, you have the high Shravaka, depends on the depth of his practice of the perfections. This you will find even in Theravada commentaries. Then, if we want to attain the highest realization, we have to go further. And the further step is to discover the complete unreality of the continuity of the mind. This is a partial realization. Sui fan yue. So as long as we are not the Buddhas, from the first stage of Bodhisattva to the highest stage of Bodhisattva, 10th stage of Bodhisattva, it's still only the partial realization. This is Pian Tiao, Pie Tiao. This is the gradual process understanding. But the gradual process understanding can be brought together with the realization moment by moment. There is no contradiction. So when we have true deep insight, we start to be more and more clear that this samsara and nirvana cannot be separate. This even the Shravaka can do. It is not fixed that one is a Shravaka, one is a disciple. According to Bodhisattva Bhumi, there are two kinds of disciples, the Ting Shenwen and Puting Shenwen. Puting Shenwen, when he understands that this suffering of beings and can give rise to the bodhicitta of suffering of being in samsara, then he also can contemplate this continuity of the mind and the seeds of his previous experiences as being something completely irrelevant. And then he can go, in this case, if he's an arahat, he can go very quickly to the highest realization. So that much for today. Let us finish here. We have prolonged a little bit, and next time we will start with the second aspect of mind going towards or returning towards the true nature of the mind, which is a Buddha. And that is the aspect of defiled mind, because it is still connected with ignorance. We have learned whenever the mind moves, it is already connected with ignorance, but with continuity, connected with dualism. And when it penetrates this continuity, it can get the partial realization, not the seeming realization, but partial realization based not on correct differentiation, but on understanding the non-differentiation as being the true way the things are. Okay, so let us, as usual, transfer merit for the benefit of all sentient beings, and we will finish here today. 愿以此功德，普济一切，我等一众生，皆共成佛道。阿弥陀佛。So, what is the date? The next Saturday, what is the date?
7 of September, Pastor.
It is September, what date?
7.
September 7.
Yes.
September 7 is a little difficult. Can we make it September 8, Sunday? Because Monica is coming to attend my course, and with some Czech follower too, with Jacob, you know, who is doing this website. He may be present here, and I want to meet them at the airport. They will be coming on the 7th, which is Saturday. So let us do it on Sunday. How about that?
Gimana, Kak Agus?
Okay.
Okay, Pastor.
Yeah, I am free on Sunday, and so I'm all willing to do on Sunday. Again, from 6:30, 6:15. Huh? Okay. So,
Okay.
Okay, Pastor.
so the next continuity of this lecture will not be on next Saturday, but on next Sunday. And then
Okay,
we
Pastor.
decide according to the situation when my course starts, if we can continue or if we wait for another week or two. Okay. So next week on Sunday, everybody accepts. Any objections?
Okay, Pastor.
Okay. So we agreed next Sunday on 6:15 Kathmandu time, and what is the Jakarta time?
7:30 p.m. 7:30.
7:30. Okay. 7:30 Jakarta time and 2:30 the Czech time. Okay.
Okay, Pastor.
Or German time, same.
Okay, Pastor.
Okay, so have a wonderful week and wonderful weekend, and looking forward to see you next week. And maybe we can decide someday if to devote to questions, some extra day during the week, if you have time for those who have questions. So we devote the whole hour and a half just to questions. And so how about that?
Okay, Pastor.
Good
Yeah.
idea.
Yes.
So we decide next Sunday before my course start, the most suitable day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, whenever convenient for all of you. You discuss with yourself, and the same time, the 16:15 Kathmandu time and 7:30 Indonesia time. Okay.
Okay, Pastor. We discuss later, Pastor.
Okay, so you discuss among yourself, and then we can fix the time, and I can inform also this if anyone interested in the other part of the world to participate. Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
Pastor.
So let us leave here. Bye.
Bye, Pastor. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yana.
Ya, thank you, Paulus. Thank you semuanya.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.